Welcome to the Edible Valley Podcast, episode 204.
On this episode, we're talking about certification and training. Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our edible valley.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast. I'm chef and host Jonathan Frazier. And I have a special guest with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. My name's Miguel Varela. I work with Chef Jonathan at Locals.
And he's a little nervous right now.
Yes, I'm a little bit nervous.
That's okay.
I've never done a podcast before, so.
Excellent. Well, I thought I was talking with you at work, and I thought it'd be fun to bring you in because this is what you're doing right now. You're doing your apprenticeship right now, and you're learning about the training programs, and your goal is to be a chef.
Yes, I am.
You want to be the top dog, and so if you listen to our last episode, I spent a lot of time sort of talking about, the things that you maybe not think about when you want to get into this profession. And so this time I thought let's go through the schooling, and I thought, let's bring Miguel in because he's doing this for real. And I thought, hey, he'll be able to give you a little bit of insight on where he's at and what he's done with the program. So start off, I thought I'd just explain a little bit about how you get into the cooking profession. It usually, in the old days, it all started out with you'd start off as a dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Move into prep. You've done some dishwashing?
No, I have not actually.
You've never been a dishwasher?
I have never been a dishwasher.
Well, guess what you're doing next week?
I love it. Love it.
No, so it started off, you'd start off as a dishwasher, move into prep cook or, kitchen help, which means you'd be the guy peeling the potatoes and, scrubbing dishes.
Scrubbing dishes or like
moving
just
up,
move stuff around.
Move stuff around.
Whatever the guys who actually cook, they're like, hey, can you help me bring this to there? Or, hey, can you grab me this?
Exactly. So
you just have to do everything for them.
Yeah, it was great because that's the part where you learn what products are, where they're stored, how the kitchen operates. So it sort of built those. Next thing you move into cooking.
Yes, exactly. Well, if we talk about dishwashing and being a helper first, I think it's a very misguided kind of concept where people think, oh, you're being the slave of the kitchen, and I think people needs to understand why it's such an important role and why it helps us. It helps the actual cooks move along with what they need to do for the rest of the day because they don't get a lot of credit, but I think
I always say that the dishwasher is the most important person in a restaurant.
Exactly.
Because without them, everything else goes downhill really quick.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're usually the first person to call in sick.
That is true. That is true.
And it's always a scramble to find someone, and especially someone who's good. And it's a tough job, but I love doing dishes once in a while myself, just sitting in there, just because it's just peaceful. It's just you scrub, you put in the machine, you dry off and put away,
If you know how to cook, you should know how to clean dishes too.
Exactly. And I've always said some of the best cooks or chefs I've worked with have worked up that way because they know and they respect what the dishwasher has to go through. And I know you haven't done it, but it sounds like you understand how important they are. So that's a key to a restaurant. Yeah, so then we move on to cooks. That's where you start learning your trade. And that was where you probably sign up on an apprenticeship. Yeah. And after that, you hit the chef position. Mm-hmm. And that means you're the guy in charge of the line. You're the guy in charge of what's going on, worrying about ordering and staffing and making sure that dishwasher shows up and knows what they're doing. And then And then if you really want to punish yourself, you can go to the next step, and that is to become an owner.
Oh yes, restaurant owners. They look easy, especially on TV, but it's definitely a really big responsibility to have. And you know, I've never been a restaurant owner myself, but as far as I can see through different experiences, like it's a tough one. But I give respect to whoever are restaurant owners.
It's a tough gig, and being on both sides. Yes, you're the one who has to have the final answer on everything, and you have to make sure everything works and make sure everyone gets paid, as well as make sure that your guests come in and are happy and pleased. So it's a challenge, but that's kind of the old school system of it. And now we've kind of brought in the apprenticeship program, which is, and sort of, you know, there's a lot of private and public colleges, trade schools, and even in high schools are starting to train people up to give them that little footstep in there. So you started with high school, did you not?
Yes, there was a thing in high school called, I think we had a baking course, and we also had a cooking course. It was like a 1 semester type of thing, and I think that's where I really found out that I was, you know, somewhat decent of a cook, where we were making stuff, and it was a group of 4, but then there was an odd number of people, so there's only 2 of us, but then we managed to get things done faster and better than the groups of 4. So but yeah, that's where it really started, but I really didn't come think of it up until post high school, I guess.
Right.
Where I worked in a fast food restaurant, but
right,
when I became like really good at it, at like customer service,
right,
and after I left that area where I had an opportunity to work in an actual restaurant. See, the thing with that one is they offered me the job as a prep cook right away, so I never got the chance to work as a dishwasher.
Right.
But yeah, that's when it really started, when it opened my eyes, where it's a skill that you can work with your whole life, pretty much. It's a skill that you can keep. It's a skill that you can use almost every day. Yeah. Because obviously everybody has to eat.
And you can always learn too, right?
Like, yes, exactly. And it's a never-ending process that you don't learn everything and you're like, oh, I know everything. Like, there's always something new every day, which is the most exciting part about cooking.
Yeah. It's always changing too. That's what I love about it. But I was going to say, even as you go into the fast food restaurants, I think you should never knock that as experience, because they have really good systems. Like the reason they are successful, many fast food joints, is because they have really dialed in systems, and it's kind of neat if you can pick up those systems and transfer it as you move on in your career. It just makes life a little bit easier.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So you made the big decision to sign up and get into cooking school.
Yes, I did.
Yes. So you joined the Professional Cook Certification Program, which has kind of changed over the years. It was referred a little different when I did it, but it was basically set into, you had level 1, 2, and 3, okay, which now they call PC1, PC2, and PC3.
Yes.
And then at the end of PC3, once you finish that, if you do everything right, you get your Interprovincial Red Seal. And now, so your Interprovincial Red Seal means that you're a certified cook, not chef.
You're a certified cook, yes.
I always like to throw that out. Like, some people come out of school and like, I'm a chef. And I'm like, no, you're a cook. And there's nothing wrong with being a cook.
It means you just get to do this professionally.
Exactly. And then you got to put some more time in, and then you can start calling yourself a chef. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the program. When you got into it, how did you get involved with it?
Well, it was first as a decision based on myself. You know, I had a couple of gap years after post high school,
right?
And I was thinking to myself, hey, like, what should I do? You know how, as every teenager goes, like
Yeah.
everyone gets to kind of ask themselves what they should do for their career. And at the time, I was cooking pretty much as a job, and that's something I wanted to pursue, I guess. So, because if not, like I wouldn't be doing anything else. So I picked up. I decided, hey, I'm gonna move from Vancouver to Vancouver Island and go to school because they have better schools here.
Nice.
So yeah, I decided to do that because just based off my experience and what I figured, I tried different trades,
Oh yeah.
carpentry and all that, and it wasn't it for me. But knowing that when I serve people food and it makes them happy, that's what kind of inspires me to do it professionally.
Awesome.
Yes, and also the fear of my mom getting mad at me.
You never avoid that fear, right?
Yes.
It's funny because that's kind of how my career happened too. I was doing it, cooking, and it was one day I was like, well, if I'm doing this, I'm like, why don't I get some certification for it? You know, like even if this wasn't the career path I was going to go down, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm fairly good at this. I'm like, let's sign up and see what it happens. And it was interesting because that was the moment that as soon as I got into school, it was like all of a sudden this whole new world opened up to me because I was like, whoa, I knew how to make schnitzel. I knew how to make spatzel. I knew how to make good purple cabbage. So I had the German thing down. But I didn't know any of these French techniques. I didn't know, I didn't understand why food reacted the way it did. Like that was my eye-opening thing. It was like, oh, this is why you boil something.
No, everything makes sense.
And so that's what got me into it. And so then, yeah, it was just like I just kept progressing through the career. So let's talk a little bit about PC level 1.
Yes.
Because this is some interesting stuff, and this is me quizzing you to make sure you're up to speed on all your cooking stuff. So I've got the breakdown of what it is. So part of the workplace skills. Actually, maybe we should talk a little bit about how the program runs exactly.
Yeah.
Because before we talk about the skills, so let's go in and just talk about how the whole program is set up. Because when you sign up onto an apprenticeship, you basically start off at this PC level 1.
Yes.
And so you've got to accomplish, and I've got it written down here. So you need industry hours. So you need 840 hours working in an environment. I hope this is right. I'm going off the ITA's website. And this is interesting. If you're
I think it's 840 because they give you, I believe, 260 hours. That runs it up to 1,000.
You're right on that. Good. You zoom in and you get the stuff right. Yeah. So work-based training, you need 1,000 hours. Plus you have to do the qualification exam and then a practical assessment.
That's true.
Which is kind of cool. And so you have direct training at the school, which was 180 hours, which I think is equivalent to about 6 weeks of school.
I think when I went to my PC1, it was 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you got the fingers out. I like that.
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months. Yes. So you got to get in there. You get your training. So you get your work-based hours, and then you got to get into an established restaurant and train under a certified chef or a place that's been certified or is able to certify. So it's basically you've got to find a journeyman out there or another Red Sealed chef. So as in right now, are you under me or are you under Renaud actually?
Well, I signed up to be under you, but I don't know if you wrote it for under Renaud.
Well, I think you're under me actually. Okay. So you're under the local banner, so you're okay.
I answer to you.
And then, so after you accomplish that, then you have to move on to level 2, which is another 1,000 hours.
Yes.
And they have here, you need another 180 hours of technical training, and then institutional entry of another 420 hours. And after that, you get your professional cook level 2.
Yes, that's only 4 months, I believe, or 3.5 months,
3.5 months.
somewhere there.
Yeah.
But that one's also full time. I forgot to mention. So the first level, PC1, is a full time course, and PC2 is also a full time course.
Right. And then after that, you're into level 3. So to complete this, you've got to do another. You've got to have a total of
5,000.
5,000 hours. So you've got 3,000 hours to make up from the first 2,000 you've got, and then you have to pass the test with 70%, I believe it is. And
Yes, it
once
is.
you get 70%, then you're qualified as a Red Seal chef, and there's a practical assessment in that.
Which I did yesterday,
Oh yeah, how are you
and
feeling?
I passed.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent. So that's sort of the rundown of the piece of the program. And now you're back into we've been talking about all these hours, but how much time are you actually going to be spending? What are you going to be learning, right? Like that's the...
Yes, we need to talk about that.
Yes. So in level 1, I love this one. And it's one thing that's, you know what? Some people need to be taught. But personal hygiene and organization.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yes, it's definitely one of those things where once you the teacher or the instructor sees you, that's when it's almost like a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
If you can have a clean and tidy work environment, then you're gonna be a good fit to almost any workspace.
And it's funny, it's little things like people with longer hair tying it up and you know, making sure people are you know, coming into work clean, having a clean uniform. And then, just being able to organize your space and work in a tight space. Kitchens are tight. There's lots of dangerous items, so it's very important to work on those, which works into the next thing of workplace and food safety.
Mm-hmm.
So you're learning about food safe. You're learning about, correct WCB things of how to lift things, how to move things, how to not burn yourself. You've got to learn about the tools. And then there's a bit of it into, trimming and portioning meats and learning how to work with proteins, learning how to adjust recipes, basic cooking and baking techniques, and then receiving orders.
Yes.
Which is nice. So at the end of this, you should be able to prepare your stocks, soups and sauces, common vegetables and fruit, understand what they are, basic potato, rice, and pasta dishes, basic meat dishes, salads, salad dressings and sandwiches, eggs and breakfast items, basic pies and tarts, fruit desserts, understand quick breads and yeast breads, and then actually learn about coffee and tea.
Yeah, they pretty much prepare you to be a short order cook, which is that's what they refer to a lot in PC1, which is you're a short order cook, almost like a family style kind of restaurant, or for some cases some fast food restaurants.
Exactly. And that's actually how the program was designed, that at this point, if this is as far as you want to go with it, you can step out, and this will just help you secure employment, as an entry-level position at any restaurant.
Yeah, or just learn basic cooking.
Exactly.
I did have a classmate in PC1. He's 60 years old, and he just wanted to learn how to do basic cooking just to cook for his parents.
That's
perfect. That was very wholesome.
Yeah, no, that's a great opportunity to do it. So you don't have to take on the pressure of costing menus and staffing and all those things, or knowing all the extreme things. But it's a good basis around this of what it takes to make good food.
It teaches you a lot of basic things that are probably underrated, but it also kind of introduces you to the field where you kind of want to ask yourself at the end, where is it meant for you?
True enough.
If you're having a trouble trying to make a stock, or trying to make a soup or a sauce in PC1, you think you should move on to the next one?
Because then it gets much more difficult as you move on.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So we're moving up into PC level 2. So here you're learning a little bit about allergies and special diets is a little bit of the key there. And learning about volume cooking, so banquets and stuff like that, because that is actually a bit of an art form, is being able to calculate. You have 200 people coming in. How many potatoes am I going to need?
Exactly. You don't just cook 100 bags of potatoes just because.
It's not like going over to my parents for dinner. My dad cooks, because my dad's the cook at home. And he makes, there's 4 of us, so he makes enough food for about 40 people.
You'll eat this for tomorrow,
well,
the next day,
and
the next
6
day.
weeks, and which is great, and it's fun, and it's always great food. But if you're a restaurant and you start making that kind of thing, you're going to put yourself out of business pretty quick.
Especially if you're a restaurant owner.
Oh, exactly.
So seeing those, pretty much money going down the drain is unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. So next up, we're talking about deboning meats, poultry, and seafood. And then we're starting to get into the basic cost controls, menu planning, and inventory. Now, those are pretty complex. So, and then now you're at a point where when you're finished here, you should be able to make soups and specialty soups, as well as learn about the secondary sauces.
Yes, it's getting a bit more in-depth. Not just basic cooking, but also special stuff.
What's your favorite secondary sauce?
It would be, I'd say Mornay, but Mornay for the bechamel sauce, definitely.
Right? Just because you like cheese?
Yeah, I like cheese.
Sounds good. And then you're going to get into more specialty veggies, and so learning how to churn vegetables and different vegetarian dishes. Also, you're going to get more complex potato dishes. So maybe you'll start learning how to make pave potatoes or
pave,
stuffed potatoes, dechette potatoes. Yeah, exactly.
And you'll learn a lot more French terms.
Yes.
The more and more you get into it, the more and more you become a Frenchman.
Exactly. I never did well in French, so I always laugh that I'm in the cooking profession.
Me neither.
Yeah. What's the other thing? Specialty salads and dressings, hors d'oeuvres and appetizers, and then preparing platters, because there is an art form to preparing platters. Most people don't think about it, and you've got to have balance on there, and even plating, right?
Yes, plating.
Dishes, and then you get a little bit more into the pastries and cheesecakes. And then more specialty breads and stuff like that. A little bit more explanation into those things. So now it's 3rd year. This is you now.
This is me now.
So you know all of this stuff. So specialty cooking methods. So now we're getting into more complex things. So we're talking about braising. We're talking about probably a little bit of sous vide.
Yeah.
That's a new thing. Proper grilling. I've always get excited about talking about sautéing and pan work, just because you can talk about how a pan heats differently.
Yeah.
And I love trying to teach people about what different pans and how they work differently.
Exactly.
So those are some of the things. And then maintaining food safety systems. Do you know what your food safety system's called?
Your HACCP?
You got it. So
yes,
that's
it's still fresh in my brain right now.
Still fresh in your brain, which is sort of just going down and detailing how you properly receive foods, store foods, take care of foods, prepare foods, serve foods, and store foods again, and then reheat foods.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing is we're learning a little bit more about food and labor costing.
Yeah, food cost and labor cost is a major thing in PC3. We have huge assignments for that, and it was just a nightmare.
It's one thing you don't realize when you get into the cooking, because you're thinking, I'm going to make food and I'm going to prepare it. But once you get into level 3, you start thinking about how much is it going to cost me to prepare this? How much is each plate going to be worth? How do I calculate that? How do I do yield percentages?
How much do I charge the customers
exactly
for them to pay? Because now that, a lot of people don't probably know this, where, you'll learn this come PC3, but, every time you peel a carrot, or every time you have a carrot, let's say you have to serve a carrot to a customer, all those peels, all those trimmings, all those things that you take away from the carrot, you're charging the customer for it.
Yes.
And not a lot of people know this. And yeah, it really opened my eyes when I realized that when we started doing costing and labor costs and all that, because like everything is for a reason.
Yeah, that's a really good example. 'Cause when you pull out a carrot and you take the peel off there and you think about how much that weighs to the carrot, and you clip the ends off there and then you cut it and trim it up to make whatever nice little presentation. Let's say you churn it. And so all that waste put to the side, that has a cost because you paid that much for it originally.
Yes.
But then when you're breaking it down and serving it, it still costs you that much, but you've lost half of it, right? So
Yeah.
And you think about the amount of time that goes in there. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
pretty good one. What was else we were talking about? Work-based skills. Oh, buffet presentations and layout. So that goes from making platters to actually now putting the platters.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're kind of transitioning into fine dining now for PC3. When it was from PC1 it was short order cook, PC2 something like casual to mid fine dining.
Casual dining.
And casual dining, and then now PC3 is all about almost fine dining.
And I laughed when you brought up the fact about French. When I was doing my third level, my chef instructor would write all of the menus for the day in French. So he would be
crazy.
like,
Oh wow.
write it in, and it would be like, so he'd be like, this is what we're working, this is the recipe we're going to work on today. So like courtbouillon.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, and then I want 3 starches in this, but it'd be all in French. So he'd have to write it down word for word, go home, get a dictionary, decipher what he wanted.
Exactly, because there was no internet back in the day.
Exactly.
Nowadays, if we're
Google.
wondering, we just Google, we just highlight it, copy paste, search it on Google, and be like, oh, okay, it's this one.
I remember doing consomme and having to come up with 6 different consomme garnishes. And having to pull out, I had to go to the library and borrow a LaRue Gaston Mig to flip through to find them because I had no other resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so much reading.
So the resources we have nowadays would really help you a lot.
Oh, I know. Make it much easier. Which actually means that now they probably teach you guys a lot more and challenge you a lot more with a few more things. So at the end of the level 3, so here we go. So you've learned about specialty and ethnic sauces.
Yeah.
Games and varieties of meats. So you get into more than just chicken and beef,
Yeah.
Really learn about
Rabbit
and a lot of your other poultries. So, duck and,
Cornish hen.
Oh, Cornish hens. That was an excellent one. So you learn a bit about that. You also learn about classic meat, poultry, and seafood dishes. So going back to, I remember in my test, what was lobster thermidor? That was just in my head. That was one of the tests that was on one of the things on there. So the classic old, what's a bouillabaisse? What's a, those traditional things. Then you learn a lot about pâtés, terrines, basic sausage making and curing and smoking. You learn about hot and specially plated desserts, special cakes and torts, frozen ice cream and sorbets. See, I knew how to make ice cream before I got into it. And then basic chocolate and sugar garnishes.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the fine tuning stuff. And at the end of that, if you get 70% on your test, you get your interprovincial red seal, which means you're done. No, there's still more to go.
This is a good job.
Good job. Yes.
But there's more.
There's more. And this sort of gets you in a position that you can start looking into, what we're going to talk about this in another episode, but where you can work, right? Actually, that'll be our next episode. So we're talking about restaurants, casual and fine dining, working in hotels, institution camps, and catering. So once you've got that, and once you got your interpreter seal, you've kind of gone from the level of a cook that you can get into more of supervisory roles.
Yes.
And so you start taking on, becoming a sous chef, a chef de partie, just a team leader in the kitchen.
Yeah.
To move up to that position where you're going to be the chef. And now, after you've done chef and you've been a chef for a while, there's still more to go.
Yes. The road doesn't stop.
The road doesn't stop, and it keeps actually going. And I think we're going to stop just with Canada.
Okay, yeah.
But you can get much further on for sure. And so the big one right now is like, and this is one I've been looking at, and our chef Ronald St. Pierre has it, is the certified chef de cuisine.
Yes.
Have you ever looked into this?
I have looked into it. We have learned it from, I believe, starting even from PC1, and it's a culinary chef de cuisine, and it's I think something you do on your own, I believe, after.
Yeah. So basically, what it is it's sort of certified and run through the Canadian Culinary Federation, or the CCFCC, which I am
Too
a
many
member.
C's.
Too many C's, which is a national organization that sort of looks out for cooks, and we've done a bunch of podcasts in this, and we've had our local president on many a time, Leslie Stav, to talk about the industry,
Right.
talk about the CCFCC. So yeah, basically it is overseas of all of Canada, and then Canada is broken into regions. So it's like the eastern, western, blah, blah, blah. And then each region has its own individual organization. So we have the CCFC North Vancouver Island, which we're both a member of. Or are you still in standing?
I'm still in standing.
Which is we haven't really done much just with COVID times, but for me it's just an organization where we go out and we get to network, we get to learn about the food, but on more of a bigger thing, they do a lot of work for our industry and promote it within Canada. And so they've set up a couple programs that once you get to a certain level that you can start looking at and you can start getting into. And so the first level would be the chef de cuisine. So with that program, you've got to be a Red Seal, and you've got to have had, I want to make sure I get this right, at least 5 years in the industry.
Yes.
So it takes
Post Red Seal.
post Red Seal, and 2 years of those in a supervisory capacity, i.e. being chef, sous chef, kitchen manager. Basically, they want to make sure that you've had experience running the business. Exactly. You need a valid food handler certificate, which is a food safe. I believe it's actually, they prefer a food safe level 2.
Yeah.
And then you have to be a current membership with the Canadian Culinary Federation, which just makes sense when you're part of it. So it is a lot of work, and I have looked at doing it several times, and it scares me, just the amount of work that have to go. I have a good friend who did go for it, and was a lot of work, and it's very expensive, and you have to travel to.
Is it also just like, there's a practical and a written one, or
pretty much that is the thing. So you go in and it's broken into basically all the food chambers of costing, menu planning. Think about everything that was on your Red Seal exam and then multiplying it by 10, right? So
wow.
Those are the things you're looking at doing. So it is a challenge. It's actually, didn't mention that it is hosted by the Canadian Culinary Institute, which oversees certain colleges to make sure that they stay to this high standard. And it gives you, and so that is the beginning of it.
This is where it really takes you to the next level, when you really want to take yourself seriously, I guess. Once you graduate from PC3 and become a Red Seal, you work for at least 5 years, and this is where you take your profession into an even more kind of profound level, where you really take care of yourself and you really love your job, and it's almost become part of your life.
Yes, exactly. And then there is one more step here in Canada, and that is the Certified Master Chef, which falls along a lot of the same things, but it's just that much more work.
Not MasterChef Canada, but
Not MasterChef Canada. Let's talk about the CMC, which is the next level. So it's right again through the Canadian Culinary Institute. The program was descended by master chefs and facilitators at the Canadian Centre of Culinary Arts and Science at Humber College. I know it's newer to the industry, but it is, you need to be a Red Seal. You need 8 years post Red Seal experience with 5 years certified. You need a chef de cuisine designation. You need level 2 on your food safe. You will also need a letter saying why you think you deserve this. And you will get into all sorts of wonderful things like learning about kitchen knowledge, brining, smoking, trussing. There is so much information that you have to go through for this. So I recommend, if you're interested in this, and this is your career path, that you go on to the CCI website just to read up a little bit about this, because it's really interesting how far you can go in this profession.
yeah.
And maybe one day myself, maybe one day yourself. Well, thank you, Miguel, for coming in and chatting with me today.
Oh, no problem. It was an honor. It's a privilege to have me here, talk about food and our experiences, or share our experiences together.
Yeah, and I think people who are interested in this, it gives them a little bit of a path on a career path on maybe this is the way they want to go if they're interested in it, or if they know someone who's interested in the cooking profession, or just wondering when you go to a restaurant, how much time and experience the people in that kitchen have put in to get to this point, right? Like if you think about it, it's 5,000 hours just to get your Red Seal.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't really know how much 5,000 hours is. Not just 5,000 hours of just standing around. It's 5,000 hours of you actually putting in the work.
Yes.
To get to that level.
Yes, that's a lot of peeled carrots. That's a lot of chopped onions. That's a lot of work in that. And so you're getting very close now.
Yes.
So how far are you till you?
I have next week. I have my written exam, so I just need to get that.
Get that 70%.
Yeah, get that 70%, and
then we make sure your hours are there.
Yes, I've already passed 5,000. So
you've got your 5,000 hours in there. Excellent. I was like, I got to do some paperwork tomorrow.
No, I just need. I probably could get it updated, but.
Yeah. No, this is excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming in to talk to me.
Thank you very much.
And if you're interested, you can come in and check out Miguel. He's at Locals, working like a madman.
Come say hi.
He's always in the back. And thanks for listening to another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
And this has been an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Ready again?